And ladies and gentlemen, we are live. This is the Voice of Reason podcast. It is June 29th, 2022. It is a lovely Wednesday evening. This is the Voice of Reason podcast. My name is Sean Phillips, and as always, I'm joined alongside with my two co-hosts, Mr. Travis Kirkendall and Andy Van Beber. And tonight, we have a very special guest, Miss Stephanie Ward. How is everyone doing today?
Fantastic,
Good.
buddy. What?
Really good. Better than yesterday.
Yeah. So, Sean, this is officially your last night in Jefferson City, correct?
This is my last night in Jefferson City. It has been a busy day from working during the day to driving an hour and a half to go pick up the moving truck, picking up the moving truck. After some delays, which I'll get into later, got it back to the house, went back to work for a little while, and we have loaded it. We pretty much just have a couple of like small things to pack up. It'll take less than 20 minutes. Throw our bed in there, and then we are good to go. I'm gonna fill up the vehicles tonight, get an oil change in the car that's driving out there tomorrow morning first thing, and then we are officially going to Hollywood.
Yeah,
so
baby.
It has been quite the last couple of days, and now it's just kind of all settling in, and tomorrow it officially is real.
Yeah, man.
It's gotta be
all this
nerve-wracking, but like super exciting at the same time.
all this.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
It's
man.
such a big thing.
Yeah, man. And if you guys
Yeah.
haven't noticed, we're doing the outside here at the home base. We're doing the outside broadcast tonight. For those of you don't want to see my face anyway, so it's a little bit darker camera. The boys don't even have to look at me tonight; they get to look at Stephanie, and keep all the comments to yourself out there. So, but I'm sure that if Kyle McGuire's on, he'll give me his 2 cents worth here in a second. But we would like to welcome Stephanie Ward. Stephanie Ward, I'll give her a chance to introduce herself. We've known each other, what now, 10 years, something like that?
2013.
Yeah, so Stephanie's husband Phil is my best friend, and he's the one who really wants, if I really need to be kicked in the butt, he's the one to really kick me in the butt. Stephanie's not afraid to kick me in the butt either, as far as that goes. But Stephanie, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, all that good stuff, what you're studying now and everything?
I am a military brat. I was born in Washington State. I've lived in Illinois and Texas, grew up in New York, moved back here. I have a husband and 3 kids. And I am currently in my senior year of a Christian ministry major with a concentration in pastoral care with a minor in Christian leadership.
And
Awesome.
yeah, and I told the boys it's okay, Sean. It's okay to go ahead and you can do your normal swearing in front of Stephanie. It's okay because she usually swears in front of me, so it's okay. You know, it's just this is a female version of Matt Edelman, but with more attitude. So you know. Oh, hey, unmute yourself though, pal.
There we go. I don't know why, but I instantly thought of the scene from The Lord of the Rings, because I was going to be like, I will change myself for no man. And then just behind it takes the sheep. I am no man. And that's like all I could.
Oh my gosh. Well, part of the reason we have Stephanie with us tonight, we wanted to talk about, you know, the Roe v. Wade thing and the overturn, and I didn't think it would be right for 3 guys to be sitting here talking about it. And the person who came to my mind first was Stephanie Ward, because I posted for those unless you've been living in a cave for the last, I don't know, 20 years or whatever, on Thursday, Friday, I can't remember what day it was. Thursday, I believe, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, and effectively, basically turned it back over to the states to allow states to decide whether they want to ban abortion or not. And there is a lot of talk, there's a lot of criticism, there is a lot of problems that are out there. People are not, and rightly so, are probably not taking this well. And it's all in the way, I think, that it's interpreted. But, for example, for here in the state of Missouri, abortion is done. Abortion is done. The Attorney General came out later that day and basically said, we're going to be one of those states who says we're going to ban abortion. Illinois is still allowing abortion. And so I made a post, and this is the other reason why I asked Stephanie to be on. I made a post on that night, and I'll be honest and upfront, because when I was in college, I was all pro-life, but I did say accepting the health of the mother and rape and incest, and there are a lot of things that I think that people aren't really looking at with this whole picture, and that's kind of why I brought Stephanie in, because with this whole movement has been shaped around, has been melded around the church. And when I say the church, I'm talking about the Church Universal.
Globally.
Yeah. And so, and we're not talking about any particular religion. Even though it was pretty much the Catholic Church who had spearheaded this thing in the beginning, it has now turned into this movement of just, okay, abortion's wrong, and and maybe it's my perception of this, and Stephanie, chime in anytime. My perception is someone who is raised in the church is, you look at that, that's just a shameful, you little hooker or whatever you were, and you did wrong, you didn't take care of things, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And instead of the church loving these people and accepting these people and, not condemning them, but loving them and providing for them and helping them. And so now we've now drawn, if it was even any more possible to alienate people anymore, this whole issue has become a divider of persons, if you will.
Yeah.
What have you, just from the onset, let's just go ahead, give me what your opinion is on this. How do you think, as a woman, what is this saying to you as a woman, that the court is saying, hey, we're going to let legislators make this decision concerning you and your health?
You see a lot on the signs, like "My Body, My Choice,"
Mm-hmm.
and it is a healthcare decision between a woman and her doctor, ultimately, and that's where it should stay.
The thing that bothered me the most, and you boys jump in on this one. This is the one that really kicked me in the pants, though, is when, last year everybody was, especially those on the right were like, well, I'm not going to get the vaccination and it's my choice to get it. But now, when the table is turned, how ironic is it that now, no, we need to. I'm sure their intent is to protect the unborn children. That's what the start of the movement was about. When I was, it was about, well, has anybody considered the rights of the unborn child? And then it went into this radical phase, I think, about in probably the late 90s, where people were killing abortion doctors, and people were, they were doing the human chains across the abortion clinics, and they were, getting right up in the woman's face and calling her, this, that, and the other, and all these terrible names. And don't you think, what do you guys think about all this?
Sean, you want to go first? Do you want me to tackle it?
Go ahead.
So I've been thinking a lot about this, and when we've talked about this before, my initial view on it was I supported the woman in her choice to do whatever she wanted. And I still stand by that. My where I've kind of changed my perspective is more so with originally when we were discussing the idea of the federal government giving the states the power to regulate themselves on this matter. I was for that, simply for the fact that I didn't like federal government having a say of whatever it is. I just like the states having a little bit more power. That being said, seeing how some of these states have reacted and seeing how much they have laid the hammer down on this and seeing how people have been affected by it, that's bothered me. And I've kind of changed my stance on how the states like Missouri have handled this issue. Like I was reading here that like, where is this? This North Country Public Radio. I don't know. It's some like local Missouri station news here saying that like Plan B is not going to be given out because of the new state laws. They're kind of unsure where that falls in, and people won't be able to get Plan B. Like, what the hell? I don't. From my opinion, I don't see a problem with Plan B. I think it's a little bit more different than, say, an actual abortion.
Well, let's put it to you this.
I don't know. I
And
don't know.
here's my thought. And Janine and I were talking about this. And Stephanie, you have how old is your daughter? Your daughter is
Annie's 15.
Annie's 15. Riley is
13.
13. So, and Janine and I talked about this the other night. And how old is Julian? Chauncey's 3.
3.
Yeah. So when our daughters are all going to be at that point, you know, where they're like, what if something happened? God forbid that they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or they were raped, or something like that would happen. And Janine and I were like, you know, we wouldn't want to put our kids in that position, and you know, saying, hey, we're going to go get the. I mean, you know, to me, I mean, if it was something that was not their fault, there was, you know, Plan B, go get it, you know. And I can't until you know, the old saying, you walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, you cannot make that decision.
The choice to end a pregnancy or potentially end a pregnancy with Plan B, it doesn't come easy. Even if it was by rape. You know, and I speak personally. I have experience with childhood rape and then in relationships. And I actually got pregnant in high school and I miscarried because of the abuse. And I'm very thankful actually for it, because my parents would have forced me to marry him. Mm-hmm. Because of their ultra conservative views. Mm-hmm. And they were absolutely in love with him. He couldn't do anything wrong. But then I have a daughter like Annie, who has a neurological genetic condition with an intellectual disability as well as physical disabilities. Granted, she's stronger than anybody I know, but if somebody wanted to take advantage of her in that way, her child would end up with that same syndrome. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a syndrome that about killed her at 2 weeks old. Mm-hmm. So we need to have that choice.
So in the reading of this thing, though, is it, and I've tried to find this out on Missouri's website, and I cannot, and I don't know if you guys have been able to find anything or not, but I mean, I'll say this with, I mean, and this is the reason why I didn't ask Janine to be a part of this tonight, because this is a, and I'm not saying this to joke, this is a trigger for my wife, because we miscarried 5 times. And in those, so 4 of those 5 times, it was a, you know, non-viable pregnancy, and they had to do, it's DNC.
A DNC.
Yeah, so they had to do a DNC to basically take the tissue out, and because it wasn't going to be a viable pregnancy. Then on the fifth one, the last one that she had an ectopic pregnancy, which for those who don't know, that's when there is a fetus that was, and it was, I mean, it was developing. It was viable. It was developing fine, but it was developing in her fallopian tubes.
Which is fatal.
Which is fatal. I mean, it would have killed Janine, and it would have killed the baby. And we caught it just at the right time. I mean, she was going in for her checkup, and the doctor came out and said, "You've got to go to the hospital tonight. You're not going home. You're going to go to the hospital tonight, and you have an ectopic pregnancy." And I don't know, Travis, if you are finding anything or not about it, but it just, if we're going to say no, are we saying no to everything, or are we just saying no to just abortion, period, or how is this going to work?
Well, that's the thing. Because I've been doing some quick searches, and even that article talking about like them banning Plan B for the time being, it sounded like the way they worded it is there's so much confusion in like what is the regulation on this. Like they're unsure of the regulations on it. So I think there's a lot of mystery other than all we know is that, oh, they're banning it. I haven't seen any like white paper of any kind.
Well, so this is.
I also haven't gone to like the Missouri's representatives page or anything like that to see if they put out legislation or not.
I know it has
documents.
some of it has to do with the drugs involved.
So this is okay. So this is okay. So this was issued on the 24th. So this was 5 days ago, and this is the statement issued by the Attorney General of Missouri, and it's basically referring to section whatever in Missouri revised Missouri statutes. The statute provides, notwithstanding any other provision of law to the contrary, no abortion shall be performed or induced upon a woman except in case. Okay, so here we go. Except in cases of medical emergency. Any person who knowingly performs or induces an abortion of an unborn child is in violation of subsection shall be guilty of a Class B felony, as well as subject to suspension or revocation of his or her professional license by his or her professional licensing board. A woman upon whom an abortion is performed or induced in violation of subsection shall not be prosecuted for a conspiracy to violate the provision. So the woman is still protected to a point. So it's basically, it sounds like it is targeted more for against the doctor than anything. But, you know, is this, let me ask you guys a different question on this. And Sean, I kind of like to know what you think about this. Is this so? And this was an opinion that I had heard on the Wall Street Journal's op-ed thing on YouTube. They said that this is just the beginning, and on how certain things are going to be looked at as far as, okay, because this was canopied under, the woman's right to abortion was canopied under the 14th Amendment. Roe v. Wade was under that. Do you see this being a slippery slope as other 14th Amendment rights being violated, or what's your take on that?
I mean, you know, a lot of people said that Roe v. Wade would never be overturned.
I was one of those.
And look where we're at. And yeah, you know, I think it was Clarence Thomas himself that was the one that had said something along the lines of, now we have to take a look at some of these. And, you know, it very well could be something that starts that, because if you look at, you know, guys like Thomas and Kavanaugh, these guys that, you know, fall on the give me 1 second. You guys continue the conversation. I apologize.
No, the go ahead, Travis.
He's muted.
Unmute yourself, Travis. You're muted again.
What's the 14th Amendment again?
I know, rookie mistake. Go ahead, answer it, Andy.
No, so with the 14th Amendment, what the 14th Amendment does, so The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment were amendments that were passed shortly after the end of the Civil War. The 13th Amendment ended slavery. The 14th Amendment gave rights. Basically, it's called the Due Process Amendment, that no right shall be deprived of a person without due process of law. Okay? And then the 15th Amendment gave African Americans the right to vote. So, a little bit of a background then about, and this is kind of a lesser known case that people need to be aware of. So Roe v. Wade came out of a earlier case, Griswold versus Connecticut, and not a lot of people know about Griswold versus Connecticut. There was a Connecticut law that was on the books in 1965-66 that basically banned any type of contraceptives. Any type of contraceptives. Okay, we're talking anything. Okay, and so what the court decided in Griswold versus Connecticut is that Griswold versus Connecticut established a guideline for the right to privacy. Okay, government, you're not going to come. You're not coming into my bedroom and telling me, I can't wear a condom. My wife can't take. And and if you look at the history of that law, it was one that was endorsed by the Catholic Church. It was one that was really,
of course,
yeah. And so the courts really then took that, and from Griswold versus Connecticut, well then the Roe v. Wade came from a Texas anti-abortion law, and at the time, and what we know about the history of abortions in some of these states where abortions were illegal, I mean. It was, when they say back alley abortions, I mean, it was literally done in somebody's living room or somebody's, with a hanger. Okay? With a hanger.
Yep, metal hanger.
Get it up in the uterus and try to scrape it off the wall, scrape the placenta off the wall of the uterus and go to town. And in a lot of those cases, you had women who would get infections. You had women who would bleed out.
Oh, of course.
The mortality rate of those was extremely high.
And so this came to the thing of where I struggled with as a Christian. And I'll say this, and then I'm going to back out and let you guys talk about this stuff for a while. I still believe in the sanctity of life. I believe in all sanctity of all life, whether it's young, old, gay, straight, whatever, disability, whatever. I believe in the sanctity of all human life. But at the same time, as a Christian, the Christian church has to really take a step and look at this and look at what the movement has become. The pro-life movement has become something so ugly that it makes people, I don't want to go to a church if they're going to, point at me and say that I'm a whore for having an abortion and all this other stuff. When I think that if anything about my character, my primary goal, and you guys have seen this, we've had this conversation on and off the air, and this has been a transformation I think has been going on in my life for about 3 or 4 years now, that if there's anything about my character that causes me to push people away from Christ, then I failed as a Christian.
You did.
Yeah.
That point blank, right in the Bible.
Yeah. If I do anything that says I cannot, if I'm doing something that says I'm turning people away from God, if I'm being judgmental, if I'm pushing people away, whatever I'm doing, okay, so it's best for me when I see a woman who's had an abortion, I let that lady cry on my shoulder, because like you said earlier, people do not come to this decision lightly.
No.
And I don't know if Travis and I were talking about this earlier, but so there was this interview that was done with one of the founders of Right to Life. This pastor, I forgot what his name was now, but he was. Let me see if I can find the name of the guy real quick. But it was this pastor who was one of the founders of Right to Life, and this guy went on he basically said, hey, look, you know, I've created. He said the right to life movement has just become straight up ugly. It's lost its essence. It's lost what it was about, and it's turned into politics. You know, when it started out as a Christian issue, but now it's turning into this political nightmare that the Republican right has used as their. I mean, you guys know everybody from. I always got a kick out of seeing like these county commissioners and these. Oh heck, like a county commissioner or the representative, a state representative. I'm pro life. What are you going to do? Seriously, what are you going to do? You know, you're using that. It's kind of like the whole thing we talked about Eric Greitens last week. I'm a Navy SEAL. Blah, 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 you know, it's
Conservative.
I'm conservative. Blah blah blah.
I think it's come to the point where, you know, you say I'm pro-life. Define that.
Yeah.
What is your definition of being pro-life? Where there should be absolutely no abortion regardless of circumstance. There should be no contraceptives. There should be nothing like that. That women should be forced to have children regardless of mortality or economic or whatever the cause that they would choose not to in any other circumstance. But just
Well, and so
I think it's become a catch-all.
yeah, it has become a catch-all.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. I think if you actually ask the person, like, seriously, like, why are you pro-life, or any question really, or any kind of like controversial question per se, most people, I believe, would stumble on their words.
Well, yeah.
And
Because they don't
would just
consider it.
relate, or would just copy and paste whatever Facebook post they saw and be like, well, this is my view.
And
Okay,
see,
explain that to me.
right, and that's why I posted that. When I posted that, and I got various things on that. And by the way, since we're talking about it, let's go ahead and talk about what the poll question said. What results? I haven't even looked at the poll question yet.
Oh, was there a poll question?
I
Yeah,
haven't seen the full
It said, "How do you feel about the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade?" There was, "I agree with it," "I disagree with it," and then there was, "I disagree with it. The court has no business in the decision a woman has with her body. I agree with it. The rights of an unborn child must be protected. I disagree with it. Although I do not support abortion, lawmakers have no idea certain health risks that women encounter that require an abortion." And 41% said I agree with it. 24% said I disagree. The court has no business in the decision a woman has with her body. 6% said the rights of the unborn child must be protected. And 29% said, although I do not support abortion, lawmakers have no idea certain health risk. And this was actually one of our more this is one that was a very active poll. By the way, we are up to 71 members of our poll group. So if you have not joined our poll group, please do so by clicking on our group tab. But that was probably,
That's awesome.
and Travis, was that you? I forgot who it was that mentioned, but they wanted to talk about what my one former student had posted.
Yeah, they kind of shared their story. I'm gonna try to memorize instead of pulling it out because it might mess up the screen. But from what they were sharing a story, I guess it was his sister, correct?
It was.
So she had. Actually, before I butcher it,
Well, I've got it right here if you want me to read it.
I'm not going to read everything.
You
Okay, yeah, if you could. This is a
I'll
great
just
story.
yeah.
to
It
share,
says.
and it's a really good point.
He basically just said, if any one of my friends or family find themselves in a situation where they needed to make that choice, I hope they call me. I drive them to whatever state. And I'll just skip down to where his story starts. It just keeps coming to mind the time I had to take my baby sister for the procedure. She had very rapidly growing cancer that had gone from stage 2 to stage 4 in a couple of weeks. You could literally feel the tumors in her belly when you pushed on it. You cannot start chemo until your second trimester. She found out she was 5 weeks pregnant days before she was supposed to start treatment. We were using a Catholic hospital, and when she asked if it was best from a medical point of view, if she terminated, the doctor said, "This is a Catholic hospital," and when she asked if it was, I cannot tell you that. This is the doctor saying, "I can only say come back when you're not pregnant anymore or you're in your second trimester. I knew what we had to do, and so did she. The cancer was growing too fast, and it was at this point that I completely changed my view on abortion. She didn't want to, but she had to. Then we had to go through the protesters to get the clinic that was literally going to save her life. Sitting in a waiting room filled with scared, desperate women. Read books full of different women's stories who had been here before. Leave, come back 3 days later, and listen to the protesters again, begging her not to, not caring that she and the baby would both die if she didn't. And so, you know, she hoped it would be the boy she had always wanted, and she's the mom of 2 girls already. She knew once she finished her cancer journey, she would never be able to have another child. Her choice would have taken from her. Ovarian cancer took over her body. 3 years later, she's cancer free, raising her girls, and now going to college. So, you know, what about that spoke to you, Travis? You were the one who brought that up to me, and we, by the way, we did have permission to use that. So if anybody gets upset or anything, yes, we did have permission to use that story. What spoke to you about that?
I gotta say first, I've never been to an abortion clinic. I've never personally experienced protesters. So I've never had to make that walk and go through that. But their story and what spoke to me the most was when he made the comment somewhere along the lines of those protesters did not care why my sister was there. They only cared about the baby. They did not ask about health conditions. They did not care. It was simply pro-life for the baby. And this is one of those situations where I think it's just total ignorance and lack of understanding from people. It's not an easy decision to make. That was a very hard decision she had to make. But I mean, that's the part that spoke to me, really. It was just that the lack of empathy, lack of understanding, and it's not like people are just going to get an abortion like it's just, you know, going to get their nails done. Like, this is a very
there
very
are
traumatic
people
experience.
that do use the abortion clinics as a method of birth control. There are,
Well,
but there are
yes,
exceptions to everything.
100%.
But hearing that, it makes me cry because, you know, she had to choose, you know, between her own life and her son's life, and
Yeah.
staying and remaining a mom.
That's not an easy.
Have we? So, where do you think? And again, I was just looking at my post, and one of my conservative friends had actually posted. Let me read he said the best way to love them by speaking truth to them. You know, okay.
What is truth?
Speaking
Like, what is-
truth. Okay, so again, I know truth that is in the Bible. Okay, I am not an expert on the Bible. I've never claimed to be. I've read the Bible through a few times. I've read scripture. I've seen scripture taken out of context. I've seen people who, and again, Stephanie, you can chime in on this too. I mean, because you see people who, I mean, this is stuff that you're studying right now.
You're gonna get me on my high horse here because this is my
Yeah.
my soapbox.
Well, go ahead.
My husband and I decided to go into disability ministry to minister to families like ours with individuals with special needs or physical disabilities, whatever. Because the church doesn't do it.
No.
They don't pay attention to them. They don't invite them in. They don't take care of them. And they're supposed to. It says it right there, black and white,
Yeah.
in the Bible.
Right.
And through deciding to do that, we took a long, hard look at the church we were in. And I've looked at the church as a whole, globally. And as a Christian who believes God's word.
Hold on a second. Did we just lose those
I'm
guys?
still here. You're
Okay.
I'm not sure what happened, Travis.
He'll get back in here in a second. Go ahead, Stephanie. I'll just go.
I have come to the realization that the church is not the church that Christ wanted it to be. The church has become more interested in its own agendas at times. I mean, there are churches out there that do a really good job. I do not condemn them at all. But there are those churches that, you know, are in it just for the money and the people that are,
Sure.
you know, high dollar earners and stuff like that. And, you know, on the post that you made, Andy, on Facebook, you know, as Christians, we are called to love everybody regardless. We don't get to pick and choose who we love and who we don't love. God said, love your neighbor as yourself. We are called to exemplify Christ through our lives and be an example of Christ to others. And you can't do that by hating other people.
And I think that's the point where the church has really messed it up, is because
Yeah.
I think that they're, you know, and I've seen churches that have, I mean, very forward-thinking churches. You know, not, there's a difference between a church who accepts the truth and preaches the truth, but also at the same time ministers to those who are in need. Whereas I think some of these churches condemn, you know, speaking the truth. Okay, well, here is the other thing. I've seen churches that, like I said, are forward-thinking, that have crisis ministries
Yeah.
for women who've had abortions. And there's a lot of churches who just will not do that because
They won't even acknowledge it.
I don't want to get my hands dirty, you know. And to me, that is the utmost point of hypocrisy that there can possibly be. To me, that's hypocrisy. And great, and I mean, you saw people who were out in front of the Supreme Court who were celebrating and everything else. But I mean, bring it back to the local level now, to somebody who's never had to face that problem. What now? Sean, you've been oddly quiet on this. What are you thinking here?
I mean, this one was a weird one. You know, as a Christian, I've never had an issue with abortion. I just haven't. You know, I have my own beliefs, and like, you know, how if I was in a situation with a woman where I had gotten her pregnant, you know, that's a conversation for us. That's not a conversation for everybody else.
Or the government.
And yeah,
It's what's weird for me, especially from our perspective of where we're from, and people that I know, again, that I see that are conservative, and then this kind of like fits the kind of the blanketed narrative of the United States of kind of this is the general reaction of stereotyping your stereotypical conservative, rural conservative American of the Midwest. It's, you know, spending all this time, you know, your typical conversations around the bar, you know, I don't like Colin Kaepernick, I hate his kneeling, I can't stand the shit, all these sons of bitches out there, you know, my taxes go up and damn welfare checks are just getting thrown out to whoever they want in them cities. You know, you're moving to California, you know it's expensive out there because they got all them damn welfare checks they're just giving out to people who have 18
How many
kids.
times have you heard that? I'm sure it's been a lot.
Oh, dude, it is like a fucking scratching disc at this point. Of California's expensive. It's expensive.
it's liberal. It's liberal. It's
Anyhow,
liberal. Why do you want to go there?
But then we get to the abortion. We get to the abortion topic, right? Of, you know, oh well, you know, that it's murdering babies. You're murdering babies. You're murdering babies. You're murdering babies. Well, okay, all right. You know, the old Louis C.K. joke. Well, abortion, it's a little bit murdering babies. You know, okay, it's totally murdering babies. You know, that I love that Louis C.K. joke. But we get into this point now where it's like, okay, so someone gets pregnant, right? And let's say it's two 16-year-old high school teenagers, right? And I had this conversation with a coworker. where they're like, I don't think, I just don't agree with abortion. Okay, and I'm like, okay, you don't agree with abortion, but why does your right infringe on theirs? Well, it's a life. I said, okay. Then they're just like, well, they, why do they have to have an abortion if they were too stupid to not use a condom? And I said, okay, so you mean to tell me that the people too stupid to use a condom are fit to be parents? The people that were too stupid to spend $1 at a gas station to buy a condom,
Right.
those are the two that you want raising children.
Yeah.
Children that
right.
are going to go out into society. And then I said, okay, well, what if they were smart enough to use a condom? What if she was also on birth control? What if they had used a condom, he had pulled out, and she was on birth control? And guess what? Because none of it is 100%. What if that individual got pregnant? Go ahead.
I want to
Travis.
add, I know somebody that
I know of several people that has
Yeah.
happened to.
Yeah.
Exact.
Yeah.
They did everything that you could have asked, and they still got pregnant.
Yeah.
Well then, well, I don't think they should. I don't think they should get an abortion. Okay. Well, is it also your decision if the Chiefs pay Patrick Mahomes $500
Here we
million?
go. God,
Is
come
it-
on.
But I'm just no. So let me. Just
Yeah, I
be
got
that-
you.
But,
I got you.
But is it that person's decision whether or not the Chiefs should do it? No. Should they? Can they be happy or mad about it? Sure. But does it affect them realistically any which way? No, it doesn't. And I think that's what gets me is a lot of pro-lifers, they're done being pro-life the minute that baby exits the womb.
Exactly.
In again, a general blanketed statement, and I again, from personal experience, I know a ton of people who I've had the conversation with, so I'll generalize. I know these people exist. They don't want to help with child care subsidies. They don't want to help with assistance, government assistance. They want it an all-time low.
Yeah.
And the thing is, our rich, our wealthy, our upper middle class, our higher class Americans will still be able to get abortions. They'll still be able to.
Right.
It doesn't change for them. But now what changes is you take our it can be blue collar women, it can be teenagers, it can be women going to college, it can be anybody who might not have the finances to go to a place where they can legally get an abortion. But now we're typically taking people who are paycheck to paycheck, maybe they're already on government assistance, and now we're forcing those individuals to have a child where they were already having a tough time taking care of themselves. And again, it rattles my brain when we hear stories, when we find things out. Stephanie, you yourself talked about how you were in an abusive relationship. When we hear people talk and complain about these guys shouldn't have to pay, they shouldn't have to pay child support, or I shouldn't have to pay this much child support, like all these individuals complain about this, but it's like, hey, this could have been taken care of 8 months ago, 7 months ago, to where this wasn't an issue. And guess what? What that individual decided to do doesn't affect you in Montana. It doesn't affect you in Idaho. If you have your beliefs, and it is okay to have your beliefs. I'm happy that people practice. I'm even happy that people protest. I like protest. Because if you stop one, you again, we get in that where we just talked about a little bit ago when it comes to that slippery slope. You stop one, the dominoes, it's not about the first domino that falls. It's about the last one, okay? And we get to this point where it's okay to believe what you believe. But again, the minute that it starts to infringe, and my big thing is, look how many kids, are in foster care. Look how many people abuse the foster care system to make money.
Yes.
It's in a lot of these cases, it's never about the child.
Let me tell you.
It's never about the child.
The main category of genetic disabilities aborted is children with Down syndrome. Because it's a very common genetic factor that is screened for during pregnancy. But you have other abnormalities, conditions and stuff like that that are not screened for, such as my daughter's. It's very rare, less than 1%. I know families that have 10, 12 disabled children they've adopted or they foster because nobody wants them.
Right. And that's that with the adoption community, and you hit the nail right on the head there, Sean. The foster care, and I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the one who steps up to the mic first and admit where I was at, because 10 years ago, I was at the end of my rope, not having any kids, and I was severely, I'll just call it what it was. I was pissed off at the whole abortion scene, and I had a very narrow mindset. And I was like, how the hell can you have an abortion when there are so many of us parents who are out here who want to adopt? Because I can tell you right now, and this is a problem with our system. Domestic adoption. Okay, Briley and Bryson, you guys know, Briley and Bryson were adopted in the matter of, Bryson was 12 months from beginning to end. Bryson took 12 months. Briley from beginning to end took 13 months. On the domestic side, people are like, well, why don't you adopt domestically? Blah, blah, blah. There's so many kids. And I was like, you really want to know? You really want to know? Because domestically, you have to wait. The waiting list to get on the waiting list. This was in the state of Illinois, and I can speak to this a matter of factly. The waiting list to get onto the official waiting list was 5 years. And then to top that all off, then the waiting list was an additional 4 years. So what's happening then is, right now,
I want to ask another question because I honestly don't know, and I've heard there's a difference. Financially, the difference between a domestic and an international adoption.
And that's the other thing. So at bare minimum, we were looking at, and we had our attorney in place. We were.
Put it this way: Dave Ramsey doesn't approve of domestic adoptions because of it doesn't follow the the plan. The debt snowball doesn't work out when it comes to domestic adoption.
80. So you're looking at a bare minimum of 80 grand. 80 grand on the domestic adoption, whereas, and I'm not saying our kids had a price tag to them, but the total cost for both of our was basically around 30 to 32,000 for both Briley and Bryson.
The fees and all of that.
That's fees. That's everything. That's paperwork and everything. And so, and Janine was very, and both of us are still very protective of the fact that when people come up to us and they're like, well, there's so many kids here that need to be adopted. Listen, we went down that road. We had our foster license. We had our foster to adopt license for 3 years. And we actually got our foster to adopt license after we brought Briley home. And we had a couple of calls, and we had this one this young teenage girl up in Chicago. She was 16 years old. African American family, which didn't bother us at all. We already had a Chinese baby. What's having an African American baby? Didn't really,
Just started an ethnic
right.
collection.
And then, the day she had the baby, then she stopped answering our calls. So it's like that. So when people say, well, there's always people who want to adopt, that's true. But in the United States, the primary thing is in the United States that they want the state's primary goal is that they want the children to stay with their natural birth parents no matter how shitty they are.
Let me tell you, I worked in drug and alcohol rehab center, and I worked specifically with mothers who were getting their children back. So I know firsthand that there are parents that the ties just need to be broken.
Right.
I mean, I have no problem with kids staying and building if it's possible, if it's not going to be detrimental. But if you're going to fight hard to protect unborn children, you need to fight as hard or harder for the children that are already here.
Yeah.
And you have to make, I mean, adoption is wonderful. I've seen the benefits of it by being friends with you. My kids absolutely adore your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wonderful. But for people who want to adopt, who feel that calling to be a parent, who earnestly desire it, 80 grand?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Sean said it. Dave Ramsey's plan's not going to. And this is full circle to kind of go where you were saying earlier, Sean, though, about if you're really going to be pro-life. If you're really going to be pro-life, then what is that? What is that? I mean, are you willing? Are you going to be the one who stands in the gap? And are you willing to be the person who comes to help to fill that need?
And usually it's an astounding no, because they're like, I can't raise a child. I am busy picketing out front this abortion clinic, so I will not be able to. So unless you want to shoot them on out and send them over here, we'll strap a sign to them and get them picketing. Like,
here's where I have a problem with this whole thing. It's a woman issue. It doesn't affect males and females equally. It's a government deciding for women. And the government is mainly made up of men. So, like, and you'll never find an equivalent, but what is something male for your gender that could be legislated that you would have a big problem with?
Well,
it's like, the conversation was like, this would be if the government started regulating like vasectomies, right? And doing things like that. Like, I can't attest because I have no idea, but I tried doing the research and I could not find anything. But I had seen a post that someone had commented on that said that if you are married, if you're a married male and you go to get a vasectomy, you have to have your wife's approval. I tried looking it up.
That is 100% true.
I couldn't see. The thing is, I could not find any information on it. I couldn't find any laws. I couldn't find any regulations
for my husband to get a vasectomy.
That is
at the
hilarious.
doctor's office. I had to sign a permission slip.
Is that a Missouri thing or an Illinois thing? Because I couldn't. I looked up. I tried to find stuff from Missouri, couldn't find it. I tried looking up like federally, couldn't find it. So I don't know if it's a state by state thing, or what. But I just couldn't. I couldn't see any information on it. I didn't know if it was based off of what kind of hospital you're going to, whether it's like a Christian hospital or a Jewish hospital or whatever it might be.
Yeah,
it would either have been St. John's or Memorial.
Yeah,
so one of them would have been
Springfield,
a Catholic hospital, but the other one,
St.
I'm not
John's.
sure which one it was, but yeah, I actually had to sign a permission slip.
I wonder if it depends on, if it's, like a St. John or Missouri Baptist or, any of those
right.
Style of hospitals. Because again, I just couldn't find any regulation.
I had to agree that I was okay not having any more children. That's what it was.
So this is a fact that we haven't covered yet. But this was as of June 27, which was Sunday. 7 states have banned abortion altogether, and that is South Dakota, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky, and Alabama.
Were those the ones that had stipulations in place for the moment Roe versus Wade overturned?
Yes. Okay. So
Missouri was about 2 minutes after.
So
literally. Okay. And so then the ban that, or states that are going to have severe restrictions soon. You have 10 states, Idaho, Wyoming, Texas, Ohio, West Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, and Mississippi. Then you have 11 states, which I'm not going to mention all those, who have threatened to put a ban on it. 20 states where abortion is legal, the biggest ones being New York and California. And in those states, you have 26.5 million women who are of reproductive age. So,
I'll tell you what, when I get to California, I will be aborting some In and Out about the second day that I am there. So just giving
that's
you
a different kind of abortion. That's your anal. Yes,
probably just as messy.
God, thank you, Sean. Now the one other thing that I want to mention before we go out here. We have a few things we need to cover before we sign off tonight. So I heard this argument, and this is kind of a low noise argument that I've heard, but a lot of some of the talk that the right is throwing up there is, well, hey, you guys are wanting states' rights. This is a states' rights issue. Here you go. Here's your state. Let your state. I don't know if this is them trying to reach out to us libertarians who are like, okay, who we've always been states' rights people, but to me that's a really feeble argument, because I don't really see the strength in that argument, saying, well, it should be the states who decide this. No, it shouldn't. I
just imagine if they put prohibition back into action.
Well,
how there was.
There'd be another civil war.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too. I don't know if you guys saw this today. Just announced today, Justice Stephen Breyer is retiring on Friday.
Very convenient.
Yes, very convenient. Justice Stephen Breyer is going to retire on Friday. So then you're going to be back to it'll be 5. You'll still have a 5-3 majority for conservative. Well, you've got two moderate. You've got a moderate in John Roberts, and you've got a moderate in I can't think of the other chick's name. But still, as far as conservative / moderate, it's still 5-3. And so, I think this is going to be something that's really going to build up. And I can guarantee you that the Democrats are going to, they're going to take this ball and run with it. And the last question, then I'm throw it to you guys. Our last question, then we'll just do our niceties. What do you think this is going to do for the midterm elections?
Yeah, I was wanting to mention this earlier. I think, there was a lot of talks of like the red wave, like, oh, everyone's turned Republican now. I think this move was a big game changer. Mm-hmm. I think Democrats might actually get some votes this midterm. I will say this, and I wanted to make this kind of spiel before we got off tonight. With these recent moves, and a lot of people are unhappy and they're out protesting, and hey, that is your right. By all means, practice it. Please do it peacefully, right? Mm-hmm. If you are unhappy with your state's legislation, your local legislation, if you're not happy about this, midterms are coming up. Vote. Go out and vote. I'm not saying vote Democrat. I'm not saying vote Republican. Please make educated decisions. Don't just vote for people you see on Facebook and bullshit post. Mm-hmm. Please do your research. But vote for what you believe in. And if you're not okay with this, then vote accordingly. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm going to say. Just make an educated decision, and please take elections seriously. You have power. You can change things, but please do it responsibly.
Well, yeah, one of the big things, when people ask, or when people would question, like, how did Trump win? How did Trump win the first time around? And it was the silent majority. The silent majority is what people didn't expect people to show up for Trump the way that they did, right? Mm-hmm. Just like Travis said, this blue wave, there's probably a lot of people that take a look at this, right? Especially women, like your typical moderate to semi-conservative women that might have really not been a fan of Roe versus Wade being overturned. Typically, might now vote towards the left. One thing that drives me, and I was talking to Tony about this, that kind of drives me crazy, is every 2 years I constantly just kind of hear voting third party is a waste of a vote. Voting third party is a waste of a vote. It is not. It is a vote. It is a vote that is just as important as voting left or voting right. There are a lot of third party candidates that, believe it or not, if you do the research, if you don't spend all time just looking and picking a Democratic ballot or picking a Republican ballot and if you do some research, and we're not asking you to do extensive research, just Google, hey, use Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, whatever the hell you use, and just go, hey, for your state, you can look up who are the independent candidates, who are the Democratic candidates, who are the Republican candidates. And a lot of websites will tell you here's the hot takes, this is where they typically lean. That will give you a good idea of kind of what you're voting for.
Mm-hmm.
You use those things to look at the independents, because when you're like, man, I don't really like what they think about this, but I can't stand this thing, so I have to vote for them. No, believe it or not, there's a candidate out there that might actually check all your boxes.
Oh yeah,
Stephanie, let's get Stephanie as a female voter. Where would you see female voters going with this next election?
As someone in the past that's been ultra conservative, my views are liberalizing a lot, and even in myself, I always vote based on candidate. I don't vote based on party.
That's awesome.
I look at the issues that they are campaigning for, and I look at the issues that are important to me when I'm deciding. But I see a lot of women, especially from the younger generations, we'll say 50, 40 and down-ish. They're definitely gonna go more towards Democrat. Anybody that's going to be more pro-choice, because nobody wants somebody else to be able to make that medical decision for you.
Right. Well, this has been exactly what we wanted it to be. I think we covered every area of the spectrum. We do want to thank our guest, Stephanie Ward, who is welcome to come back anytime. And, she is like my little sister, so she's over here a lot anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But we want to thank her. Good news, tomorrow at 7 a.m., the Voice of Reason merch store will be open. And we will take our first order. You can order anytime between now and July 30th. On the 31st, we will put in the order. And within 2 weeks, you will have your stuff. It is basically just a Google form. You fill it out. You can use PayPal. You can use your credit card. You can use whatever. And you will be able to buy our merch. I showed you a little bit of it last week, but the store will be open tomorrow morning. And we want you to represent we've got jerseys. And by the way, and I said this last week and I'll say it again this week, the cost of the jersey includes your name and number, the number you want on the back. So Sean, you can get your Patrick 69 on the back, and you'll be good to go.
And put 420.
No, 420, whatever.
Yes!
There you go. You get your 420 on. And Travis, you said you had something you wanted to share as well.
Yeah. So American Traditional, I put out recently. I got these little sample packs I've been cooking up. I have them listed on our website as like a kit. However, I am going to open it up. If you just want to buy the sample pack, you can. It'll be more affordable, and I'm sure people are probably more interested in that than the whole kit. Not to say the kit's a bad thing. There's some cool stuff I threw in there. But I got a very limited batch of like a Guatemalan light roast I cooked up.
Nice.
I was really happy with it. I'm very limited. So if you want those, if you just want the pack, like I said, I don't have just the pack listed. Just shoot us a message on Instagram, or you can text Sean or I, and we can get you. We'll get you squared away on that. And it's something I'll probably be doing here again in the future. These sample packs are a lot of fun to do here at home, and I'm kind of experimenting some new stuff.
Good.
These aren't quite like official products yet. Kind of gauging, seeing what people think, and then depending on feedback and stuff, it'll be like a new roast that we'll be putting out.
And
But yeah, that's going to be on the site. Again, Voice of Reason is a discount code. It'll save you 10% on our website. It's Voice of Reason, all lowercase.
and
And
to
all our other stuff's still listed.
And to celebrate, I also decided yesterday I was going to announce this on the, but I'll just say it now. To celebrate the opening of our merch page, Van Beber and Sons will give for the month of July. If you book with us in the month of July, you will get a 20% discount. If you mention Voice of Reason in the booking, you will get a 20% discount in the month of July. To celebrate our
That's 2-0, ladies and gentlemen. 2-0.
2-0, which is a and we would love to do your bar mitzvah, circumcisions, vasectomies,
Now we're cooking.
whatever,
With permission.
with permission, of course. So, and we want to wish our boy Sean to be safe tomorrow. And
Yes.
good thoughts and prayers for our brother going out to California. The next time we'll be seeing him is on the Sunday, and I'm going to make an executive decision right now. Since next Monday is July the 4th, we will be broadcasting on Tuesday, I believe, or Sunday. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but we will. Next time we see Sean, will be on the sunny beaches of Southern California.
Oh yeah, and again, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Great
Yeah, thank you.
conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Again, anytime. And again, thank you. I will add this for our listeners. They weren't aware we were supposed to go last night. Stephanie even drove all the way over there to get everything set up, and life just kind of hit both Travis and I like super fast out of left field. So thank you so much for adjusting for us. We really
My
do
life is
appreciate it.
literally on the fly. You have no idea.
Okay, you get the struggles. So
I do.
No, seriously, we do appreciate it. And V, thank you so much for getting everything set up. Again, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you check out our new merch site. Again, that'll go live, and feel free if you are a fan of the show, we'd love for you guys to represent. And then maybe at the end of the month of July, we might do some giveaways as well. We'll keep you guys in the loop on that.
Yep.
But again, thank you all so much. Again, please be a friend, tell a friend. And if you are someone that might have questions, if you might find yourself like a pro-lifer or a pro-choicer, but you just have some other outside questions that you weren't comfortable either talking about today or this podcast kind of spurring them in your head, feel free to shoot us a message, a Voice of Reason podcast, right here on Facebook. Shoot us a message, and we'd love to answer any questions that you guys might have. But again, thank you so much. Be a friend. Please tell a friend. Please share this at your local Westboro Baptist Church. We'd love for them to kind of hear
Jeez.
us have a conversation. You know where to find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. The list goes on and on. Thank you all so much. Stephanie, it was nice meeting you. Great talking with you. Travis, V, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a great evening. We'll talk to you guys next week.